Hello and welcome. My name's Carl. I am a photographer, a designer and a trainer. I help many different Photoshop and Lightroom groups, and I do notice that there is always a pattern for new arrivals to the groups. Usually the first question is, what's the difference between Photoshop and Lightroom? Well, depending who you ask, you're going to get different answers, but functionally there's a lot of crossover. You can edit photographs in Lightroom, you can manage photographs in Photoshop, but realistically Photoshop is primarily a design program and it's used to create things, and Lightroom is what we call in the industry a digital asset manager, or a DAM, and it's used to organize your photo collection. So that's expanded over time to include the ability to edit. Let me show you. Now if I go here, this is Photoshop. As you can see, I have a photograph open right here. What you would do in Photoshop, you would make things like Christmas cards. It has the ability to have layers, which you just can't do in Lightroom. Lightroom does not feature layers. For example, as you can see over on the right here, every one of these photographs is a separate layer, being brought in individually and layered and sized and edited to suit. So you can turn them all on and off, or you can turn them all any one you want. So suddenly they're gone away, and to bring them back, you add them on at a time. You can't do that in Lightroom. This is an editing function specific to a graphics editing program such as Photoshop. Oh, you can do it in other programs, of course. You can do other things like you can composite different images on top of each other to get a nice result. You can't do that in Lightroom. You can do creative effects such as this. This is a book cover I made. That's a separate story, so I won't go down the road. I made this silly bit of fun from a photograph I took when I was in New York at the top of the Empire State Building. That's the original photograph. I added various color grading techniques and myself. That was taken of me by myself in our basement of all places. Just a little bit of silliness. And yeah, you can vary it. You can add text, you can overlay things. You can create wonderful things like this. You can do more composites of yourself standing in your old stomping grounds, but in Canada. You can overlay things. These are all creative effects that you can make in Photoshop. You can't do that in Lightroom. What you can do in Lightroom is you can develop, you can edit things with these tools, you can make creative adjustments to exposure, etc. And in similar ways, you can make changes to your images, but not like you can in Photoshop. You can't stack them on top of each other, you can't add that kind of creative filtration, you just can't. One thing that this does extremely well is it manages your photo collection. Let me go here, click on the library, and over here you'll see I've got 30,821 photographs in total on my hard drives, scattered around my computer. If I wanted to take find a photograph, it's fantastic. You can go here, you can click these columns, are all editable. You can choose different columns, add one to the left or to the right. You can choose all these different criteria. This is built into Lightroom and very few people actually bother to use it, and I think that's a shame because you're missing out on some opportunities. Here I'm showing everything by date. I'm about to do a seasonal book, so I will be looking for something. For example, I want to sort by month. So if I wanted to do winter, I might choose January and February and March. It's shift click to select the ones you want, and then you would have 2,187 photographs. If I decided later on to do spring, I would do April, May, June, and then I have 7,945 photographs. If I only wanted to see photos taken this year, I would scroll to 2023, then I would change this one to month. So I'm sub-filtering. I've got 593, and from those 593 that I've taken this year, I only want March. That gives me 75 photographs to play with. Really great at that. It's fantastic. Photoshop has nothing that can touch that. There is Bridge, which, let me just switch back to Photoshop. You click here, you can go File, Browse in Bridge, which opens up that. My belief is that Lightroom is best explained as Bridge on steroids. It as you can see, you can navigate things extremely well. You can also export things. You can have different folders. You will see here I've got different collections from New York, Nokomis, Smart collections, which will say, oh, everything that was taken in 2020, for example. There you go, 1,865 photographs. I like to organize by date. You can also add keywords, and you can add any kind of grouping that you want. You can label them by color code. You see this is in yellow. You have these hierarchies here. There is a lot more in both programs to cover, and I will happily cover that with you. If you want me to train you on it, I do that globally, because the internet is a wonderful thing and it operates around the clock. So do I. But that's way beyond the scope of this. All I wanted to do today was to address the differences between Photoshop and Lightroom, and they are many. There are also many similarities, and I've no doubt somebody will pitch in with their favorite difference or similarity, and that's absolutely fine. I encourage you to add something in the comments. Just keep it nice, please. But ultimately, Photoshop is a paint editing program. It has way more capabilities. I've used it to create billboards. I've used it to create Christmas card lists. I've used it to create collages, as you saw in one of the other ones. All kinds of wonderful things which you just can't do unless you're in a dedicated editing program. It doesn't have to be Photoshop. I mean, I'm not an Adobe fanboy, although I do really like them and do use them. I am aware of other programs, and I use them. Lightroom, its speciality is working on photograph collections. So I've got 30,000 in here. I can drill down to any one or any group of them at any time, and I can find what I need. Also, key to note, Lightroom, and this is very confusing to new users, you have to import your photos into Lightroom before you can edit them. And they say, well, why do you have to do that? Well, the reason you have to do that is because Lightroom built a database using your photographs, and you make the edits to that database. You don't edit the original file ever, ever, ever. It never touches it. You cannot break your original. It's not possible. You can lose them. You can disconnect hard drives. You can do all kinds of wonderful things, and I deal with that on a daily basis when I'm helping manage these groups. But functionally, you cannot break it. For example, right here we have a school bus that's just taken locally. If I right click on there, you'll see Show an Explorer, which is there. And you will see that that is a significantly different look. Try to put them side by side here and I can't. Oh, okay. And the reason is that's the original photograph as it came out of the camera, absolutely untouched. Your edits in Lightroom are made to the file in Lightroom. For example, I'm trying to find a more extreme example. Let's have a look at this one. This is the original untouched photograph, which I'll put side by side there, and you can see there's a significant increase in the contrast, in the tonal range of the colours, and I've accentuated the beach with, there's a dog on it. You can't see it here because we haven't zoomed in. You can go crazy in Lightroom, you can make as many changes as you want, it won't break your originals. Photoshop, you would save it out as a single file, you'd export it for the purpose that you wanted it for, be that as a PSD file, which is Photoshop native, or a TIFF, tagged image file format, which can be opened by any editing program. It takes a while to think about it because it's working with a proxy. It's using the database, not the original file. That's the thing. And I need to update my computer. It is 10 years old, so I'm doing very well. But I've got too many programs going at the moment. As you can see. There you go. Anyway, that's basically it. So, in a nutshell, Photoshop is a design program to edit and create things, and Lightroom is a digital asset manager with edit capabilities. So bridges the middle ground between the two, and if you want to get creative and do amazing things, use Photoshop. If you want to work on your photos or your photographer, primarily Lightroom. There is a lot more. I'm oversimplifying it, and as I say, people will probably correct me in the comments, and I understand that. But I can't fit everything into the length of this video. So please understand, if I haven't mentioned your favorite difference, it's no omission. I'm just trying to keep it simple because this is aimed at guys that are asking the simple question, what's the difference between Photoshop and Lightroom? Because they never opened either program and they just want to know. So keep it simple. That's your difference. Anyway, my name's Carl, as I say. I am the design guy. And I'm available if you want me. Link in the description, usual stuff. Please feel free to share this, like this, share it on your, I think I said that. Share it on your socials and or subscribe to either the website or the YouTube channel, or both. I would prefer both, but you know, it's entirely up to you. So, do the things. Thank you. Goodbye.